himself getting passed by multiple cars, as I mentioned earlier on, so Newhoff in a very precarious situation, but he often finds himself in these places. He doesn't qualify as well as he races.
Up front, they are getting with Lee Aberdeen and Luca Varani not very far apart at all here. But I just want to see how Alistair Haig deals with Marcello Kessler coming around the old hairpin.
I would say it's not the best decision they've ever made, just not having done that under the safety car, really.
Yeah, they're taking their pit stop strategies from Ferrari lately or something. What's going on?
In turn one, just too much gas on them, too much feet on the round pedal, and unfortunately he's dropped him all the way down the order. But Philip Hammer is out in front by an 8.91 seconds. Dan Michael is a wall there, sir. And definitely doesn't want to be hitting that earlier on as well.
Difficult, the understeer is in the dirty air through that final corner because it's such a long corner and you get dragged off into the grass very easily. He'll have the slipstream down it towards the chicane. Peterson was briefly alongside, but that slipstream has saved him and kept him in third.
Yeah, Varani now lost a little bit of time to Aberdeen, about half a second. Peterson is Pike's pushed Morton forward up ahead. He's got out of line. It's now Pike going to have a go at Werrell. Don't push him off. He's in the championship fight. Jack Werrell chasing down Carl Jacklin. Further down, Rob Williams and Chris Barnes.
Sensational run outside line now though for the heavy braking zone. Around the outside goes the Audi R8.
Look how much Miller's come back into play. Exactly. Miller's still start trouble. He's not on second and change. All of a sudden Miller's back in play.
Moving on to the back end of Phil Jocelyn. So there's been a lot of movers and shakers in this first 2 laps here for race.
Absolutely serious racing league. Everybody's allowed to have fun. Yeah,
it's all about the entertainment. So I hope
everybody is enjoying themselves out there in the chat. We know that Ron is been enjoying himself watching.
Dear.
The Burger King machine's off into the grass a little bit there as they're really bunching up now.
Standing out from the crowd is a challenge. You have the passion, courage, and ambition to do something extraordinary. You have an awesome story to tell and a wonderful vision to share with the world. At Eddie Videos, we take that vision and turn it into reality so you can be heard above the rest. You need something different, and we give you the ultimate advantage. We can help you transform your ideas, images, and clips into a professional video that brings your message to life and sets a new bar for excellence. Visuals, voiceovers, editing, animations, whatever you need, we've got it all. If you're a new business looking to make your mark or an experienced company searching for something new and amazing, we're here to help. Trust us to take your video to amazing levels of awesomeness.
Does he have it? Medeiros is going to get it. Medeiros is going to toss it. Haven't got it.
He's on the outside line though, going into the fastest corner on the circuit. Surely this can't work.
Dominic Ligner has got a sensational run outside line now though for the heavy braking zone. Around the outside goes the Audi R8.
Look how much Miller's caught back into play. Exactly. Miller's still such up. He's not on second and change. All of a sudden, Miller's back in play.
Can Barry do it? Big Barry's going to do it. Big Barry!
Hello everybody and welcome back to the Radical Race series for round 11 of season 3 in 2023. We're at Interlagos live here for tonight's racing. It's 4 races to go remaining in this championship now over the course of the remaining 2 rounds. Our finale coming up next week will be from Mossport, of course, a different location for our final round, but it's Interlagos on this occasion. A wonderful circuit, we think so anyway, and we're hoping that it's going to provide some great racing for us. It's myself, Ewan O'Leary, alongside James Parfitt for the evening, and we're looking forward to it once again. James, should be a good one with this 2 races a night format returning once more for the end of season 3. Things are starting to get very competitive now as we wind down the end of this new season.
Yeah, they definitely are, and I think it's going to be even more exciting as well in that championship running. You know, we'll talk about that very, very shortly, but Interlagos, you know, a stellar track, loved by us, hated by some drivers. I think it's a great circuit. I'm glad that there isn't that dodgy chicane up in the top right-hand corner, because that would just be horrendous, which I have seen, believe it or not, as well, that the motorbike track has a chicane on the what is it, just after the last corner in Juncal. So, you know, I'm glad it's the normal layout, but the championship's looking spicy at the moment.
Yes, it is. Let's have a look at it with John McCutcheon at the top of it, ahead of Simon Edwards, and with last week's racing, Luke Maxwell, despite having a wonderful round actually, didn't keep himself in contention any longer, or hasn't kept himself in contention any longer. He's third and should have enough to stay ahead of Mike Bousson towards the end, although because of his quite poor drop rounds for Luke, he is still going to be under threat, and he will still have to do something for these final 2 rounds to hold on to third. Seth Brown has got a decent chance of chasing down Bousson for 4th place, and George Gonzaga and Jamie Bird aren't far away. Darryl Taylor has a bit of a drop in points to him in 8th place, and he's not far ahead of Michael LeMay or Wayne Palmer. And then Damien G is the first driver outside of the top 10 with less than 200 points. The gaps are small from there. Phil Glover, who's here every week, made a big jump last time out, up to 12th. Paul Godden is returning once again after some time away in 13th. And Phil Justin and David Rosden round out the top 15. Colin Wynn has not been here for a while and has dropped a few places in the standings, and Rob Woodward has gained on that, including the likes of James Berry, who has fallen down a little bit there. Paul LeMay has been away quite a lot this season, and he's down in 19th. There's Sergio De La Cruz, who we can say the same for, and Paul Crabb as well. 3 very good drivers, possibly misrepresented by their championship standings this season. David Beasley is in 22nd at Paul Clark and James Child, who are the final drivers to have more than 100 points. Chris Max Davies only has 68, with Graham Brown, Martina Ward and Tim Adcock only having been here for 1 round each. Scott Lear and Eric Brawley the same, with Dan Webster provisionally on the start list for the season. having never taken part in any of the rounds, or at the very least hasn't got to the end of any races, unfortunately, this season for the title contender of the other 2 seasons over the course of 2023, at least for some period of those 2 seasons. Coming towards the end of practice then, and towards another qualifying session. Should be all over pretty quickly with a relatively short circuit on the menu today. 15 corners officially. I'm going to dispute Wikipedia a little bit on that because it counts that run from Junkao towards the start-finish line as 3 corners, even if it is just a gently winding left-hand bend all the way up the hill there. It's a great circuit though, and if not everyone likes the circuit to drive here, James, I think everyone can admit that it provides good racing and it provides great entertainment towards the end of championships, as we see so often in Formula 1 particularly, and other championships as well.
Yeah, definitely. And we want to welcome in Ria there as well, always watching. And then I love these little cars. Paula May, good evening, and Darryl Taylor to you as well. Now, the interesting thing, right, you dispute the long left-hander. Now, officially, that is 3 corners. Now, it's quite an interesting makeup of that circuit, you know, and you've got to look at Junkao was 1, then you've got the left-hander of 13 before you come officially into the bike circuit, which is the chicane. There is a chicane, believe it or not, round turn 13 after that. Then you go into Subido de Boxes, which is the long left-hander at the top of the hill, and then you've got what is officially translated into what they call the bleachers. Now, the bleachers, if we can jump on board here with Luke Maxwell, so that's turn 12, 13's here, Subido de Boxes in this left-hander now, and then just at the pit lane entry where it goes left again on the right hand side, it's actually called the bleachers, and that's what it translates to. Now, it's actually called aquabancadas, which does translate into the breaches, and that's why you officially have got 3 corners around that last long left-hander. Now, that alone, I think, I just love the way Interlagos is. I think it's a great circuit. I think we're going to be in for some great racing here as well. Down the Retro Costa, down into turn 4, Interlagos at the end of this. That's going to be an overtaking opportunity as well. If they can get a good run out of the Cida de Lago, up the hill, into the Ferradura and round La Ranahara, I think it's going to be an interesting run as well. But there's an opportunity over the first half, but there's also opportunities going down into the second half as well. Junkao coming out is another great, you know, if you can get out the inside there, it's another great overtaking spot. So they've got lots of options here today, and I think they're definitely going to try and use them.
And it feels a bit retro as well with the pit entry that you mentioned there. It's actually the old pit entry. I'm sure a lot of you will remember from back in the day. Can't remember when that pit entry actually changed, and I don't even know how they did it actually. But they've made it a little bit less dangerous on the way in now. It used to be a very narrow entry, and it used to be quite unclear who was actually going into the pit lane and who wasn't, which was a cause for some concern at some point. But well, as you're seeing with Luke Maxwell now, he could easily be going in the pit lane or staying out on the racetrack, and that was exactly the problem, so they moved it. But this circuit still has the retro version of that, if we can call it that, at this stage, and now they'll begin to set their benchmarks for the day. John McCutcheon with a decent one, not quite as good as Luke Maxwell, who wasn't quite as good as Simon Edwards on that occasion. And as we were speaking about before we came to air here, James, it's a big day for Simon Edwards. By my calculations, he does need to finish second and first today, and he needs to win both of the feature races remaining in this season. And he can only afford to finish second once, and that's in one of the 2 remaining sprint races. He would dearly like to not put that pressure on himself, though, and take out the opening race of the night, and then hopefully come from 10th to win again. But the odds are greatly stacked against him clinching a 6th title from here.
I think John has just been incredibly quick, and he's been quick all season, right? And that's without a dispute. We can't dispute that. McCutcheon has been flying. You know, Maxwell's been a little bit of a thorn in his side, but unfortunately, due to misses of races and the low drop scores, he's going to be in trouble. He can't win the championship, that's it. Edwards has got a tall order, right? He's got to go and try and do almost what McCutcheon did last season, Ewan, and go out and just say, do you know what? I've got to go and win everything he possibly can. Is that going to be possible? Well, John McHutchison and Luke Maxwell, as Hutch goes on to pole position there. Luke Maxwell then takes it as well. What about Simon Edwards? He is going to nestle into third at the moment. So not great qualifying for Edwards. He's got to get past Hutchinson and he's got to get past Maxwell. And we know that that's not always easy.
No, it really isn't. There's also some more complicated maths that even if Edwards manages those winning 2 tonight, then it could even be over tonight as well, even despite that. So that's the amount of things that need to go his way. We'll get into that a little bit later on because it could be very complicated and don't want everyone confused before we've even started one race here this evening. We'll just focus on the racing for now. Focus on this qualifying session because this is an important lap for Simon Edwards, as you may well have gathered. Luke Maxwell and John McHutchison are looking to prevent that pole position for the 5-time champion here. The best way McHutchison can seal the title here is to stop Edwards from winning, I suppose, in the best way possible, and the easiest way to do that is, of course, win yourself. McHutchison fastest in the second sector, but Luke Maxwell has 2 fastest sectors to his name so far, and make that 3 as he goes in towards Juncal for the final time. This will be the 3rd and final lap here in qualifying for all of the drivers, or at least those 3 leaders who are pretty head and shoulders above the rest. Robert Wood was having a blinder in 4th place, by the way, but still can't get near to these guys. Luke Maxwell is surely going to retake pole if indeed it is snatched off him at all. He does go faster. McHutchison did, then Maxwell went purple. What about Edwards? No purple sectors from him, and unfortunately can't improve. So it's actually the first lap time of the 3 that sets Edwards' benchmark. He's down in 3rd place in what is becoming a tall order, a difficult qualifying session for the driver second placed in this championship fight.
Yeah, Simon Edwards has got what they call an uphill struggle now. He's got to be perfect. He's got to get it right to be able to jump them. Mike Bousson's just about to come over the line as well. He's gone on to 5th place, so a great job from Mike. What about George Gonzaga here as well? What is Gonzaga going to do with Jamie Bird sitting down in 12th at the moment? So Jamie Bird's going to be going over the line. We've got about 4 cars left on track. They are all going to come around and complete their laps. Jamie Bird pops it into 4th place as well. Stellar lap from Jamie Bird there, 1:28.7, 7/10 off the front of Simon Edwards there, Ewan, but he's in with an opportunity. If there's any contact with the front 3, Jamie Bird would be there to pick the pieces up.
Yeah, I'm so disappointed that Luke Maxwell had a difficult first half to the season, because what a title fight we'd have between those 3 if he was to be up there. And we have had that in the past, let's not forget. It's season 1 this year where the 3 of them were going at it, and Hutchinson have that unfortunate penultimate race where he went from sealing the title on the day to out of the title fight in one race at Brands Hatch. That was pretty unbelievable. That was earlier on this year, and unfortunately Maxwell's not quite had the same season that he did back then. Wayne Palmer ends the session 8th, and Paul Godden, the final driver to come across the line, only 11th. I think it says a lot about this season, though. Really, I mean, earlier on when we moved to the SR10s for the first time, we had a lot of drivers in contention. At one stage, when we make our spreadsheet halfway through the season, I put 8 drivers down as potential championship winners. That's not been the case this season. It has been a 2-horse race, maybe at best 3. But yeah, Maxwell's showing himself to be very much up there. He hasn't lost it from when he won his title, which was exactly this time last year, towards the end of the summer in 2022. When all he had to do was follow Simon Edwards for a race around the North Side, and that's exactly what he did to clinch a title all the way back then. I believe that was the final season that we had 1 race per night in the Radical Race Series, and then we started 2 races. From there, Simon Edwards has won 2 titles. Is John McHutchison about to level that up with 2 ever since we went to 2 races a night? Well, that would be quite a remarkable similarity between the two, who have been so similar in so many ways on the track for quite a long time now in this series.
Yeah, I think it's been ebbing and flowing all season. I think Hutch has had a bit of a psychological not advantage, but a psychological moment over Simon Edwards. You know, Hutch has been putting it in all season. He's been quick, he's been consistent, he's been fast, he's been absolutely everything this year. And Edwards has struggled at times to get near him. Yes, there are times when Edwards has, been the super fast driver that we know, and that's, been consistent all the way through. And it's just really different to last season. You know, Hutch come in and basically just went, I've got to go out and win everything. And he did, and he took the championship, and it was well deserved. This season, he's had to come in and defend it, and he's kind of done the same thing. He's gone out and just plugged away and plugged away and plugged away and got the points he needed. And Edwards, well, we know has been caught up in a few instances across the season, and unfortunately has dropped some vital points, and that's where he is at the moment. 26 points back. He's just got to go for it at the moment.
And if the drop rounds work as they are right now, then he'll need to be within 11 or 11 and less going into the final round. But that could change. I'll talk about it later. Luke Maxwell takes the pole position then in Interlagos with John McCutcheon alongside. Simon Edwards only third with a big gap back to Jamie Bird, who will be sharing row 2 with. Robert Woodward and Mike Booston will be on row 3 ahead of George Gonzaga and Wayne Palmer. There's Michael LeMay and David Royston. Paul Godden and Darryl Taylor are just outside the top 10, with Phil Glover and Phil Jocelyn sharing an all-Phil back row, if you like, at the end of the order there. Bit of a bizarre pit straight, as you can see. We can't actually see the front drivers, but those at the back will get a slightly downhill run on this start.
Yeah, this always kind of amuses me, this start line. Uphill, you know, you've got to get it right. The back drivers can't roll forward. The front drivers can't roll back. Otherwise, they're not going to go anywhere. So I think from our point of view, it could be a really interesting one to see how they get on for this sprint race. Obviously, we've got 10 laps for the first one, 16 for the second. And then, you know, I think it could well be decided by the end of this first one, to be honest.
It could be. By the way, I don't know why they didn't build the pit buildings on the flat bit, which is the run up towards turn 4, but anyway, they didn't. So we're stuck with this very unique undulating start line, and that's what's going to kick us off for 10 laps of racing here at Interlagos. The lights are on and we're underway. It's not a good start from Simon Edwards, who'll be hassled by Jamie Bird, who's made a blinder from the second row there. He's down the inside and it's almost free wide as John McCutcheon tries to fend off his rival Edwards. They go side by side in towards 1 and 2. There's no resolution between them though, really, because McCutcheon didn't get a great run out of the centre S there. Edwards will tuck into the slipstream. They'll stay close on the run towards turn 3. Think the action's going to be further behind though, as Mike Booster looks to make his way down the inside for 4th place on Jamie Bird. They'll run side by side through the turn, and Mike Booster makes up a place to 4th.
Yeah, they got an absolute flyer. Jamie Bird went off the start line like an absolute rocket. He got a barnstorming start there and unfortunately didn't capitalise on what he had. He had the inside line going into 1 and he just didn't quite get the run through the S's. Oh, Booston's gone round.
Oh, Mike Booston with a slim chance of catching Luke Maxwell in the championship. Very slim now because he's gone back down to last. Didn't really see what happened to him, to be honest, but he's dropped 10 places.
Yeah, he just kind of binned it coming round SA up at the top of the hill, and unfortunately he put the power down and then it all just kind of went wrong for Bousson. But this is going to be the tough part for Edwards now, for Maxwell, sorry. He's got to try and hold McCutcheon going down this straight. They are dropping Simon Edwards. Edwards is nearly a second back. Draft is needed here. It is vitally important that he gets the draft, and you can see what it has done for John McCutcheon.
On the outside he'll go. He benefits from that. He'll have the inside for turn 2. Will Maxwell hang it round there? He will. He's up the curb. He's in the lead again. What a drive that was from Luke Maxwell as they fought hard through the centre S. Now McCutcheon will be on the grass searching for the slipstream. Anywhere he can find it. He'll send it up the inside, will he, at turn 4? Not quite. And that will allow Simon Edwards to close in. And he needed that because, as he commented at the time, he was falling away from the slipstream that he so dearly needs in this race.
Yeah, he just doesn't seem to have the pace through that middle sector. The gap seems to open up on Edwards there as well. And unfortunately, he just can't seem to get close enough to Maxwell and McCutcheon and stay with him. You can see he's nearly out at half a second here already. There's been an incident at the back with David Rolleston, and looks like Phil Jocelyn and also Michael LeMay might have also been sitting off the side of the circuit there as well. And unfortunately for Michael LeMay and David Rolleston, it looks like possibly there was contact there between the two as they go running in here as well. You can see on the straight, Michael LeMay's off, David Rolleston's off, and unfortunately it looks a little bit sketchy on what happened there.
was a little bit bizarre. It's very similar to a crash that happened in F1 about 15 years ago, if you may remember. It ended a little bit worse on that occasion, to be fair, so they've got away with it a little bit. But there's a lot of runoff to the right-hand side in terms of grass there, so you can get away with it. And they just did, fortunately. Simon Edwards with a new fastest lap of the race so far, just closes in, but the front three are being relatively gentle with each other on this occasion. It was all elbows out up front last time around. This time it's in the midfield as Robert Woodward gets sent backwards. He was fourth, not too far from the end of that qualifying session, but he's already down to 9th place. Is he just benefiting his second race starting place? I'm sure he's not thinking about that just yet, because we're a long way away from that, but he has been overtaken by Darrell Taylor and Paul Godden in one swoop there.
Yeah, I'm just wondering whether or not it was a slowdown. The way he slowed down and pulled over, I'm wondering if he didn't get that catching out too much curb coming out of turn one. It's always a bit of a problem if you take too much there. Phil Glover's trying to chase down Mike Bousson. David Rollo has had, unfortunately, another little bit of an incident going in. That's Phil Glover on the inside coming into turn one now. What are these? Oh, he just outbrakes himself, unfortunately, does Rolliston, and he goes off the side of the circuit. So unfortunately for him, it's he's at the back of the field now, but the front three are still fighting it out. Paul Godden still having a go here, but he has got Robert Woodward tucked up right behind him.
Classic mistake in towards turn one, isn't it? As you're braking there, it just bends round to the left just a little bit, and obviously it's still undulating. It doesn't just stop on the way towards turn one. You're still going downhill slightly on the way through there into towards the chicane, so it's a very difficult braking zone indeed. Robert Woodward looking to use that now on Paul Godden in towards the first turn. Just squeezes Godden as much as possible before using that tarmac to the right hand side. Maybe a bit too much of it. He brakes too late. He'll lose the place, and Phil Jocelyn will close as a result. He won't be close enough to make a move there, but Woodward there was very quickly just placed from 7th.
Yeah, as soon as he got it, he did miss it, and unfortunately he didn't get it right into turn one. He fought so hard to take it away from Paul Godden, and then it kind of just went a little bit wrong. These front three, Maxwell, Hutchinson and Edwards and Bird, have not swapped positions at all throughout this race. We saw it where Hutch led for about a corner, and then Maxwell took it back coming through the centre S's, of course, out onto the Retta Raposta. But at the moment, this is going to be the run down now for McHutchinson. He's got to make this decision here, because there's been so many times where Maxwell has led the race and Hutch has taken it away near the end of the race. For Maxwell now, he's got to try and defend this run up the hill. You'll see how strong the draft is, and Hutch is going to try and make the most of it as best he can here. But for Maxwell, if he's out in front in the last lap, he needs a good old bank of time to stay ahead on that run down into the start-finish line.
As you just said, that's the important corner through Junção there. That was the moment. That's where you need the run, and Maxwell had it on that occasion, although I do think McHutchison is just hanging back for the moment. I think he's just waiting, realises that maybe the battle that they had on lap 2 is maybe a last lap kind of battle that they need to have, because I don't think there's enough slipstream for anybody to overtake someone on the way towards the line. I think you can defend that quite easily with a good run from the front, and so you can't leave it that late. I don't think you can leave it to the run to the line, but you can leave it to final run in towards turn 1 where you're going on to the final lap. That's when I think McHutchison may strike, or will Edwards try and circumvent that a little bit and try to get through before all that happens. Not sure what he's going to do there, because if he battles with McHutchison too hard, then Maxwell could get away with the win, and Edwards doesn't really want that.
Yeah, I don't know, looking at Simon Edwards, and it's very rare that I'd say that. To be honest, I just don't know if he's got the pace. If he's hanging on, he's surviving by the draft, keeping him along. You can see through that midsection, if Edwards is doing what Edwards does best and runs a zero wing, or if he could, he'll take it off completely, to be honest with you. But if he is running a zero ring, it's looking like he's really struggling through certain parts of the circuit. Down towards, on the exit, as Junção is back out to 5/10 now as well. And it's getting a little bit bigger, partly due to McHutchison's draft with Maxwell. So they've closed right up, but if Edwards isn't careful, he could end up getting out of this draft and just getting dropped a little bit. I think he's being saved by the draft here. You know, he come out and said he doesn't mind the track. I just don't know if he's got the pace, or if his setup is not working for him at the moment. He just can't seem to stay from towards out of the entrance here, down the Retroposta, down into the Interlagos. He just can't seem to stay close to the guys coming through all the little wiggly bits before we get down to Junção.
Don't forget that with a third place, Simon Edwards can't win the championship any longer. I can't see a way that he can anyway, without some sort of miracle. I think McCutcheon would have it, even with 3 races to go and a round and a half remaining, as there's all sorts going on back in the fight for 5th place. Wayne Palmer has been shoved out wide. He's been overtaken again and again and again. Oh, it was 3 wide in towards turn 1, in fact, very nearly, as George Gonzaga got down the inside of Jamie Bird. They battled side by side. Gonzaga got it wrong. Oh, and Wayne Palmer got into him slightly. That might be front end damage. That's a pretty awkward moment for everybody there. Not sure how Palmer lost the places after that, and he's still falling, isn't he? He's 12th now, and that little bit of contact there must have given him quite some severe damage by the looks of it.
Yeah, I haven't seen him off the side of the circuit, to be honest. I haven't seen him go again since the boost on. No, Rollo's had a moment. Phil Glover's also had a moment as well. So maybe Palmer's just struggling a little bit as well. He's down 5 on where he was right at the start. Phil Jocelyn seems to be closing up to the back of Mike Bousson here. This should give Jocelyn's position. As long as Bousson doesn't try anything, Bousson, I think, is going to hug the inside wall and literally defend like an absolute trooper. Jocelyn's got to try and send it round the outside as they come down into turn 1. Bousson's late on the brakes. He sends it in deeper. No way through for Jocelyn there, unfortunately. Oh
dear. Well, that just about sums up Mike Bousson's race, doesn't it, really?
Yeah.
Into the wall. Damage, certainly. Let's have another look at it in towards the first chicane. He thinks he's got the place. He's come across there, I'm afraid. And I think Mike Bousson has only got himself to blame there on that occasion. Unfortunately, oh dear, he needs to be careful with that as well. Although that's not a favourable place to end yourself anyway. Yes, unfortunately, I think Bousson is at fault there, just not quite giving the room that was required in towards turn 2.
The problem is did Bousson think he had enough room, and did Jocelyn send it in on him? You know, I do agree, you know, sometimes with what's happened, but I'm wondering here, if you have a look on board with Phil Jocelyn, Bousson's there. You know, did Jocelyn just send it in?
Not for me. I think
I don't know, you know, I don't often Sen, I don't often disagree with you, you know what I mean? We do have our disagreements. That's not true, yeah, we do have our disagreements. I'm just wondering, the fact that Bousson was already turning now, whether Jocelyn thought he might have had a little bit of an entitlement over that inside line. I don't know. That's not for one for us there as well. Ria, it really just not worth it on most tracks. You make more speed on the straight, sure, but no matter how much you're able to compensate, that car will not be as stable in the corners. Well, that is in reference to Simon Edwards, who does like running a zero wing practically at any points, doesn't he? And I'm wondering if it has affected him, you know, if he, you know, we spoke last week about Parfitt with Simon, and he did say that he had to stick the maximum wing on to get that car stable. Parfitt's different circuit to Interlagos here, but it has got the wigglies in the middle, you know, from basically Ferradura all the way to Junção. Tough, and I really do believe that Edwards may be surviving by the draft here. I think if we have a chat with him after, he might say that he just didn't have the pace, and I've got a funny feeling. Oh, Maxwell!
Oh, Maxwell, that's a big mistake. And surely now the race is going to be on, because 2 laps to go. We were starting to turn up the pressure cooker a little bit anyway, but that has just accelerated the operation now for John McCutcheon, who's been gifted the inside. Is it all part of Luke Maxwell's plan to hand this lead over? Maybe it is. Edwards looks to circumvent that though and go down the inside. He's not quite going to manage that. They all go deep into turn 1. Now there's a real problem because the lead is getting away. John McCutcheon's got it, and Simon Edwards is stuck in 3rd place. Absolutely nowhere at the moment. He's looking for that inside line. He's looking for a way through on Luke Maxwell. He goes to the outside line in towards turn 4. He needs this place. Round he goes. Maxwell just gets a little bit of a slide, but he's still got the exit on the inside, and he holds on to the place as well. Luke Maxwell still there in second. Edwards won't let him have it though. He's down the inside at Ferradura, and he will get the inside. It's a long way round there through the right-hander, and so he takes the place. But surely that gives John McCutcheon enough to win this race.
Yeah, 1.1 seconds. That brief amount of fighting here as well. It's going to be whether or not Edwards can hang on here as well. I am so surprised that Maxwell didn't defend the inside line. He didn't take the inside down into turn one. He didn't take the inside coming out of the Retroposta down into Interlagos. He didn't take the inside. I am shocked that he did not defend more. He allowed Edwards to get the inside line on that run up into Ferradura as well. And Maxwell didn't have nothing. No response. I don't know whether he was resound to not taking the inside line or what, but we're on the final lap and look where Edwards' car was compared to where Maxwell's was. I am shocked he didn't defend that.
Well, it is a bit of a surprise, but at the end of the day, who knows, to be honest, because who knows what Maxwell was playing there. I think he wanted second going on to the final lap so that he could overtake McCutcheon, but Edwards got involved and completely ripped apart his plans. Big squeeze on the way in towards turn 4 from Edwards there, as he needs this second place, let's not forget. Otherwise, the title fight is over with 3 rounds to go. Edwards might just be able to hang on to this and keep it alive for one more round, but even then it could be a close run to the line here with Maxwell so close on the last lap.
Yeah, Maxwell's just got to stay with him. He's going to have to run up the hill coming out of Juncal. He is going to be having the draft. It's going to be Hutch. Absolutely, definitely, unless Hutch does some major different thing to what Hutch does and sticks it in a wall. This is the moment for Maxwell here, Ewan. He's got to be within about 2.5 tenths of Simon Edwards on the exit of Juncal as they come running down to the line.
Let's see. Maxwell with an opportunity to end the title fight right here. John McCutcheon has done all he can to make sure that Edwards is denied already. This is the run towards the line. McCutcheon is going to win the race. What about Edwards? It's going to be very close. Oh, he just about gets there. He just about gets there for second. The title fight stays alive, but by a whisker. The odds that continue to stack against the 5-time champion have just been added to as John McCutcheon takes yet another win in this dream season for him in the Radical Race Series.
Well, we can have a look back and see just how close it was here over Maxwell and Edwards, trying to find the ideal kind of camera. You can see it now as these guys come down to the line. It is literally nothing. Absolutely nothing as they come over. Oh! Maxwell was unlucky there. Absolutely unlucky on that one.
Was a little bit, just didn't quite have the run towards the line that he needed. 15 thousandths of a second between them at the end. Wayne Palmer crosses the line, by the way, in 12th place as we were riding on board with him, and we'll take a look at those race results at the end of 10 laps. John McCutcheon with another win, 1.3 seconds ahead of Simon Edwards and Luke Maxwell, who are even closer on those results. Jamie Bird and George Gonzaga were miles apart, Bird finishing 4th, exactly where he started. Paul Godden got up to 6th place. What a drive that was from him, with Rowan Woodward in 7th. Phil Johnson and Phil Glover move up from starting 13th and 14th absolutely together. They finished 8th and 9th. Then Darryl Taylor, who will be on pole for the reverse grid. Michael LeMay misses out with I think a penultimate or last lap incident. Saw him off the road somewhere. He's down to 11th. Wayne Palmer had to come into the pit lane after that bit of contact. He's down to 12th. And David Rosden and Mike Bousson never returned from the pit lane after their incidents.
Very interesting coming into this one, I think, isn't it? This one's going to be very interesting indeed.
It is. So 29 points now, the gap between McCutcheon and Edwards. If Edwards were to win the race, then it would be 62 points to him. And the minimum McCutcheon can score today is only 9, which... sorry, the maximum he can gain, Edwards, is only 9 points, which would reduce the gap to 17, which is the minimum that McCutcheon could lose over the course of the final race, at the final round. So I need to work out how many points John McCutcheon needs to make sure that Edwards can't lose. I know that he needs 22 points, but what position is that realistically? It's 9th, isn't it? So realistically, John McCutcheon actually doesn't have to do that much to clinch this title. Even if Simon Edwards wins here, it's not looking good for him, unfortunately.
No, I think Simon Edwards has got a bit of a tall order. I say that in the nicest possible way. He's a great guy and everything else, but I think it's going to be a bit of a mission. He's got to try and outrace Hutch on the track, and I just don't know if he's got that pace in that car, and I'm wondering whether or not he may make some adjustments. But here's the grid for race 2.
Let's have a look at the reverse grid, and hopefully it is a reverse grid on this occasion. Sorry, Darrell Taylor, who is on pole, by the way, alongside Phil Glover. And then there is Phil Jocelyn and Robert Woodward. Paul Godden and George Gonzaga will be on row 3 ahead of Jamie Bird and Luke Maxwell. Then the two title contenders, Edwards and McCutcheon, on row 5. McCutcheon only needing that 9th place, of course, to take the title. Michael LeMay and Wayne Palmer are on the 6th row, with David Rosden and Mike Booson bringing up the rear. Looking forward to seeing what Mike can do from back at the back of the grid. His pace was decent. We'll see where he can get to in this race. The lights are on then for the third last race this season here at Interlagos. It's the feature race and we're underway. Good start in the pack there from Woodward from 4th as he looked through the middle. Can't quite get there though, as Darrell Taylor will take the lead towards turn 1. It's a huge dive from Phil Glover, and there's contact back in the pack. Edwards slightly involved, I don't know, but Paul Godden certainly was. He drops backwards and Maxwell is involved with Gonzaga. Edwards goes ripping round the outside. McCutcheon through into 6th already. There's been a little bit of chaos through the opening chicane on this opening lap. Phil Glover briefly taking the lead. Now that's retaken by Darrell Taylor, who is ahead of Robert Woodward at the front.
Yeah, Darrell Taylor, Robert Woodward, Phil Glover, Jamie Bird. Godden went off track. I think he was helped off by Edwards. Bird has come through on Phil Glover now. Glover's going to go and try and take back the inside. He's doing an absolutely stellar job, but look who's there already. John McCutcheon is 3 places ahead of Simon Edwards. This is going to be even more of a mountain for Edwards now, as he's got to try and get in contact with Hutch. He's got to go full bore.
Oh no, there's contact. Oh dear. Phil Jocelyn heading into the side of Jamie Bird. Edwards will gain 2 places as a result, and he's up to 5th place now.
Yeah, he's now behind Hutchinson, which is great. He's now got to go for it and try and make as much difference as he can and see. But Hutch should get Glover down this straight here as well. Well, somewhat of a chaotic start at the beginning.
Was. We'll have a look at some replays in a moment, I'm sure, but there's a lot going on right now. John McCutcheon back down the inside, and it's side by side between Mike Booson and Jamie Bird. 8 places gained on the opening lap for Mike Booson, although maybe it will be reduced to 7 with Jamie Bird down the inside. Off the road for Phil Glover, I'm afraid. Such a shame for him, and he very nearly got into the side of Bird and Booson as well. What on earth is going on in that pack as well? There's 5 of them battling for 7th place. It's all going on back in the pack here in Interlagos. Here goes Mike Booson looking for a top 5. After starting from the very back in this race, he's already up there into 5th.
Yeah, George, Luke Maxwell has just cleared Phil Jocelyn. Wayne Palmer has just got past Michael LeMay. Phil Glover has gone backwards. He's now down 10 into basically 12th place. He did have his moment, of course, coming out of turn 1, running down through the centre S's, so it's all gone a little bit wrong there. I just want to try and have a look back at what's going to happen with Paul Godden and see what happened to him. But Phil Glover is just about to lose a place to Michael LeMay, and he has done that. Phil Jocelyn once more. Robert Woodward now got past Darrell Taylor and is out in front with John McCutcheon in 3rd. And this is what happened to Paul Godden. I've got a funny feeling he was assisted round by Simon Edwards there as well. I'm wondering if Edwards went in deep there. Oh, yeah, he did.
Up, didn't he?
Yeah, then what happened with Maxwell and Gonzaga on the same thing? Gonzaga's on... Oh, yeah, there was just too much overspeed from Maxwell and he had nowhere to go there, and unfortunately Wayne Palmer nearly got involved with that as well. So it's all going off at the front. Darrell Taylor's taken Robert Woodward, and Hutch is coming through.
Oh, and he's gone.
Taylor's
Oh,
gone.
Taylor gone into the wall at turn 1, and through goes Woodward into the lead, although how briefly, because Edwards and McCutcheon are right there. I think John just had to slow down a little bit, actually, as a result of seeing that in front of him. And Simon Edwards now goes for the lead. Inside line for him in towards turn 4, and he does take the lead here at Interlagos, doing all he can, completing his part of the equation. Unfortunately, his title rival is right up there with him in third.
Yeah, he is. McCutcheon is not far behind. He's going to get Woodward. I don't think Woodward's got the pace to stay with these guys. Maxwell's moved himself back up into 6th after the incident with Gonzaga right at the start. So it's going to be how far Edwards can get and whether or not he can get the gap to McCutcheon. But Hutch is being pulled along. Woodward's made a mistake.
Oh.
Now we're on for it. Now we've got the prize fight. Heavy hitters at the front of the field. It is Simon Edwards, John McCutcheon in one corner, and now they're going to be going for it, Ewan. It is going to be on like Donkey Kong. It is a boxing match now, and we're going to see what Hutchinson do here.
It's going to be fantastic to watch between these two, Edwards and McCutcheon. 1 and 2, as they have been so many times in the Radical Race Series. How many times have these two gone into battle? The last time that either of them didn't win one of the titles was a year ago. This time last year, Edwards has taken 2 titles since. McCutcheon's looking for his second in a row, which he's never done before, despite being a 2-time champion. Maxwell is looking to battle from further behind, by the way, as he's overtaking Jamie Bird now. That was round the outside of turn 3 that sets him up for another outside run at turn 4. Bird realises that's not the fight he wants, and so hands that 5th place over. Phil Johnson and Michael LeMay also go for it in towards turn 4. They do want to fight though, and Jocelyn's hang on very well around there at turn 4 and 5.
Yeah, God, did he squeeze him coming round Delago there? I thought there was almost going to be contact between them two, and you just sit back and grit your teeth and suck in a big load of air like you're going to squeeze the SR10 smaller, and it was close, but Michael LeMay did get it. Hutch has got nearly, it was down to half a second. He's lost a bit of time coming up round Bico de Pado on that run down through Magello down into Juncao, but now he's going to use this straight, and now he's going to close the gap up, and you're going to see it from Hutch here. He's got to try and get the gap down regardless of how he's going to do it. He's just got to do it somehow, and you can see it rapidly closing on the left hand side.
He's still in touch, and that's all he needs to be at this stage. Completing the first quarter of this race now. The two of them, as we've mentioned before, head and shoulders above the rest. That we could have Luke Maxwell into that, but unfortunately he's not had such a good start in this one. And to be honest with you, I'm surprised that Edwards is not feeling the effects a little bit more of that damage, because he definitely did make contact with Paul Godden at turn 1 there, and we saw with Wayne Palmer in the previous race that you don't need a lot of contact to do a lot of damage in these cars.
Yeah, Maxwell's just clearing boost on there as well, and Maxwell's now put himself up into 4th. He's got a bit of a tall order to catch Robert Woodward, who's 2.5 seconds down the road. Maxwell last time out 1:28.9, Woodward on a 1:29.21 respectively. So from Woodward's point of view, it's going to be now trying to keep ahead of Maxwell. That's going to be tough. Further down the order, Darrell Taylor is now going up with the man who's down 9 places. Taylor's down 11, and of course he's trying to get onto the back of Phil Glover and Phil Jocelyn, so the Phils are having a battle here once more as well. So we'll keep an eye on this battle all the way through, but it's going to be what's going to happen at the front. They're 4 temps back at the moment, but at the moment Phil Jocelyn is trying to hold on to this position with Phil Glover tucked up right behind him.
Yeah, we're going to end up watching these guys a little bit more than the leaders, I think, because Edwards and McCutcheon may well be waiting for a moment later on in the race to battle, whereas these guys are just going to go for it from start to finish, which is exactly what you want to see. Phil Glover's going to be down the inside of Phil Jocelyn here very nearly, and he will be at what is actually called turn 14, and through on the way towards the pit entry. Glover's going to have the inside line as well. If he can hold it through there, it's a shorter line, of course. There's no benefit to being on the outside, really. And Glover making use of that now, although Phil Jocelyn's going to give him a run for his money in towards the first turn and try and come back in mid-turn 2 maybe. The two leaders will stay nose to tail, although they are very close. Judge Gonzaga will have a go at Jamie Bird, and Phil Glover was the one who prevailed in that battle further behind.
Yeah, Phil did get in front of Jocelyn there as well. Sorry, I switched away on that moment, but it did look like the leaders were going to be running side by side. Glover does manage to hold on. Gonzaga's going at it with Bird here as well as they come towards us up the hill once more. Gonzaga did just get the position away from Jamie Bird. The leaders got within about a tenth then as well, running down to the Retta Raposta, down into Interlagos, and it's got even closer, and it's going to get even closer coming out of Junção now. This is where Edwards has either got to defend like an absolute lion, he's got to hug the inside line, he's got to try and hold him off, he's got to send it in deep, he's got to open up the steering, he's got to do all of these things to hold McCutcheon behind him, Ewan, and that's going to be the difficult part.
It is weaving around, and there's the telling moment for me. McCutcheon purposely avoiding a bit of slipstream on the way towards turn one there. Swung a little bit wider. There is actually a bit of almost an oval banking dip, if you like, on the outside of that corner. And sometimes in some sims, I don't think it applies on iRacing, but people used to start their qualifying lap times running around the outside there, because when you dip off the banking a little bit, as it were, you get a bit of extra speed. Don't know whether that's that really prevails in iRacing. Don't think it does, but McCutcheon using that line to avoid the slipstream of Simon Edwards, just to try not get closer. There he is again, almost as if his car's overheating and he's gasping for air a little bit, trying to get out of the dirty air of the car in front on the straights, like you see in over racing sometimes. If you get too close to the car in front of you for too long, you can start to overheat a little bit. Obviously that's not happening, but he's finding ways to just make sure that Edwards stays in front for the moment, and I think this situation could remain the same for quite some time. We're not even halfway through this race just yet.
Yeah, Phil, Darryl Taylor's gone past Jocelyn. Jocelyn cleared Taylor, and Taylor cleared him again. So Taylor and Phil Jocelyn have a nice little move. Luke Maxwell did get hold of Robert Woodward and has passed him now here. So Woodward is in fourth, and Maxwell is in third. Jocelyn and Taylor still battling it out, but we'll see what McCutcheon does here as they go down the long left-hander.
I don't think it's going to be a different story to what we've seen previously. Edwards will show signs of defending, but actually based on this evidence, I think John McCutcheon has the slightly faster car, and I think that Edwards is the one who's put a bit more downforce on today, because you saw the battle between McCutcheon and Maxwell earlier. Maxwell wasn't really overtaking McCutcheon or vice versa before the line, but Maxwell very nearly did it to Edwards, and I do feel like McCutcheon is having to find ways to slow down on the straight so he doesn't overtake. Edwards could be, which is a situation we don't often see, Edwards the one with the most downforce on out of the three of them today.
I'm wondering whether or not he's made a change after race one. You saw the fact that during race one he was losing time all through the infield section, and I'm wondering if he's made a change and put a little bit more downforce on. The problem is now it makes him open and really vulnerable on the straight, and I'm wondering if that's what the problem is here now for Edwards. He made an adjustment between races and has realised he wasn't getting the grip through the infield section that they're going through now, but he is struggling on the straight, and you can see it with McCutcheon here as well. We'll jump on board with John. Watch his exit out of Junção, and now this is where he's got to make a decision, and this is where he does look quicker.
On that occasion, Edwards was actually faster on the traction of the corner, but now you'll start to see the gain. Here we go, in the slipstream, on the straight, even with a bad exit. McCutcheon is just quicker and avoiding the slipstream again. Now, I'm really hoping we don't see this situation. I don't think we will either. But let's not forget that McCutcheon only needs a top 9 to win the championship tonight with one round remaining. Well, surely that maths is going to be difficult to do on the fly, but is that on his mind maybe? Realising that second place is absolutely fine in terms of clinching a third title here tonight, as he gets very close to Edwards as well. In towards turn 4, he's just hanging back. I do think he's waiting for a little bit later on in the race, and he's not just going to hang back all race long. It certainly looks like he is at the moment, as Wayne Palmer has a look for 7th place up the inside towards turn 4 there.
Yeah, him and Jamie Bird have been getting closer and closer, and now Palmer's not too far back at all, running up through Ferradura. As you say, if the leaders are going to be where they are for probably the next 4 laps, and I think Hutch might make the move 2 laps from the end there as well. So, you know, I believe he is probably sitting there waiting. He can physically see he's quicker, and he knows he's quicker, and he's got that run. So for Hutch, he's got to make a decision, either go for it or just sit there and wait. And I think if it gets to sort of lap 14, 15, I think you'll see him start making moves there, and I wouldn't be surprised if he opened up probably half a second by the time they get round into the final lap. And you can see it here. He's all the way to the right-hand side. He's not even using Edwards at all. And he's still catching him. So he clearly is quicker, and Edwards has clearly made a change. Palmer has now got Jamie Bird and is going up the inside here. Palmer's now got to stay to the right-hand side and defend like a trooper, which I am really surprised Maxwell didn't do that more.
Well, let's see who prevails out of this battle. First of all, for 7th place, Wayne Palmer and Jamie Bird giving each other acres of space there through turns 1 and 2. That was ultra respectful. I would say too much, but anyway, they didn't hit each other, so that's the main goal achieved. Bird has got a slightly better run out of turn 3, and he'll close in on the outside there. Brakes late. Can't go around the outside there, though, especially with the late braking of Wayne Palmer on the inside line there, and so that's 7th place for Palmer. Jamie Bird struggling, actually, which is a bit of a surprise, given the way that he drove in that opening race, taking that 4th in qualifying, consolidating that, and was actually 4th by miles in the end of that first race. He's struggling in the pack a little bit here in this second race.
Yeah, with the open setups, it does make you wonder if people have made changes. And for the likes of Bird and Edwards, whether or not they've overcompensated for what they didn't have in race 1, and that's cost them in race 2, because you see Palmer's physically pulling away from Jamie Bird, and at the moment Hutch isn't getting any closer to Edwards as well. What an action-packed 2 races, says Rhea on YouTube, and you're absolutely right here. It has been action-packed right the way up into lap 11, and now I don't think it's going to stop there as well. It looks like Michael LeMay may have taken a little bit of a diversion with Darrell Taylor, and it could be Michael LeMay and Darrell Taylor, or was it just LeMay and Taylor had nowhere to go here?
I think it was... Is it Jocelyn who's going to arrive on the scene and go off here? Well, LeMay certainly goes off on his own. That's Glover going through. Oh, Darrell Taylor does get involved. And then... Oh, and Jocelyn as well. Well, everyone was, in the end. A solo spin ends up in a 3-car incident there. And you saw the blue and white of Jocelyn on the inside there. It's ended with 3 drivers in the pit lane. They're all... Excuse me, it was Paul Goddard, not Phil Glover. They look very similar on the liveries. There's Jocelyn. He just clips Edwards, just clips Taylor there, doesn't he? And has to go across the grass, and he ends up in pit lane with damage.
Yeah, unfortunately for Jocelyn there, he was having probably a good evening for him. He was battling away quite nicely there. When? Is it more... Is it if rather than when, or when rather than if? I never could quite that round the right way. But I think Matt Hutchinson is going to take it over Edwards here.
Well, I think it is a bit more of an if at this stage. And by the way, we're talking a little bit about Edwards having changed the setup. I'm interested to ask him after whether he did change anything, because I'm not 100% convinced that there has been a change. I think, but based on the way that Maxwell closed in on him on the last lap on that straight there, and how much stronger he was in the straight line compared to how much stronger McCutcheon was than him, I think that Edwards has had this set up on all night, but we'll ask him and find that out and see what his thinking behind it was when we interview them post-race. But I think it is a bit more of an if, but the odds are definitely in McCutcheon's favour here. There is the question of A, how much he wants to risk here with the title on the line and a potential clinching position that he's already in anyway, and B, how close they're going to be when they get down towards turn 1, because we haven't actually seen McCutcheon fully maximise everything yet, in that he's not actually stayed in the slipstream the whole way and tried to make his move towards turn 1 just yet. We don't actually know what's going to happen when he does that.
Yeah, I think we might see the start of it. If he can get within about 2.5 going through Juncal, which he got it down to then. He's back out to about 3 and a bit here as well. So now this is where he's going to close. Is he going to run the behind Edwards? And he doesn't look, at certain points like he's sitting in behind him. He is now, and we can visually see that Edwards isn't running close to the wall anymore. But like that, Hutch is on on the inside. He's not even looking to make a move, and he's got the gap down already. So, yeah, I don't know. I think Hutch has got the pace, and I think it's coming. But when it's coming, we don't know. That situation, because obviously we're not talking to John, we're not in the driver's helmet, we can't hear what's going on. But I think it is coming for Edwards. I don't know what he's going to be able to do at the end of the day when it does happen.
No, not sure really. It could be a full-on hope this for Simon Edwards in terms of defending this position. By the way, Mike Brusson is closing on Robert Woodward there for 4th place, but that's not quite a battle that's materialised just yet, although you could say that this one hasn't either. 3.5 laps to go, and even in the corners where Edwards is supposedly going to be quicker, if we're thinking that he's got more downforce on, he's going to be faster in the corners. Well, looking at these shots right here, wouldn't suggest as much. Hutchinson staying very close through the corners, almost as quick, certainly quicker on the straights. And is that pointing the fingers in the direction of a John McCutcheon win here? Wouldn't like to calculate the amount of wins he's had so far this season, but I'll give you a clue. It's a lot. I bet it's more than 10, edging towards 20 maybe, over the course of the 24 races we've had all season long. He's in the slipstream again. It's now the time to strike. He's staying in the slipstream a little bit longer this time, with 3 laps to go. Maybe he's realised that it's not worth waiting for the end. Edwards can't overtake me anyway. Around the outside he goes for the lead of this race. Very close between them. Edwards with a bit of a better run off of turn 2, but he'll have a longer way round 3, so he'll have to tuck in again. He'll be so close in the slipstream though. Surely he's able to give it a go in towards turn 4. He pulls alongside very early with that slingshot, gets ahead again. In towards turn 4 they go. The title rivals going to battle into turn 4. It's outside line for Edwards again, and he still can't quite do it. He's looking at the inside. He's squeezed out by McCutcheon, who forces him on the outside for the 3rd, 4th corner in a row. Edwards can't find his way through. He'll look back to the inside again. He won't make his move, and John McCutcheon does get the lead of the race.
Now this is it. This is where we see what pace is in Edwards' car here. Is he going to be able to stay with everybody here once more? That's going to be the question. Can Edwards hold on to McCutcheon, and is it going to be very draft dependent now? Because we've seen Hutch has the pace. He is looking strong, Paul LeMay. I do agree with you. And now look at that, 4 attempts already, and now Edwards is using the draft to stay with him. He's got to try and get back past him to hold on to that slim liver of championship hopes he has got. Look at McCutcheon. He's leaving the inside open again. Edwards is coming. He's left the inside open. Oh, come on!
Big dive from Edwards, and he'll have the outside for turn 2, and McCutcheon will be back through again, although not quite able to shut the door through turn 3, and so Edwards will have the inside at 4. Now, will this turn the tables a little bit? Because last time he couldn't do it on the outside. Will the inside bring him any more joy at the Interlagos? Here he goes with a late braking manoeuvre. He does get through, although McCutcheon very close through turn 5. They run door to door again on the way in towards Ferradura. The two of them very aggressive with one another now, side by side all over again. McCutcheon round the outside through the uphill right-hander. He can't quite do it. He falls back into line on the penultimate lap. This is going to be a last lap showdown between the championship rivals.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Hutch tries to get him on this run out of Juncao now. He's got to, can clearly see he's got the pace, but why? Why did he not shut the door on the way into turn 1? I don't understand what the thinking was there from Hutch and Maxwell, who are not defending that inside line. You can see how strong it is. He guts the outside. He gets alongside you coming out the centre S's, and it's game over. He just can't do anything. I am so shocked that he isn't. Look at Edwards. Edwards is hugging the wall. He's hugging the wall. He's forcing him out, and Hutch didn't do that on that last time out. They're on the final lap, and it's going to be all about who can do what here.
Oh, they're going to battle one last time. It's side by side between them. And Edwards hangs on with the inside line, which he's now done 2 laps in a row. He's going to try to do it again in towards turn 4 because McCutcheon's on the outside all over again. A classic battle between them. Slight contact. And again. And again. McCutcheon's off the road. Edwards stays on but lets the position go. John McCutcheon now leads the way. But for how much longer? Inside line at Ferradori will have it. There'll be a cutback to the inside, and Luke Maxwell's here now as well.
Maxwell's joined the party. He's joined the party. This fighting has cost these guys about 4 seconds. Maxwell's on it now. This could be a 3-car shootout. Down to the run, down to the line. It depends if Maxwell wants to get involved, and it depends what he's going to do. But this is going to be absolutely an ending for the ages. You are not going to see another ending like this, I think, as well, because watch Edwards, watch Hutchinson, watch Maxwell, Ewan, as they could be coming over the line.
I'm not sure Edwards got a good enough run there to get over John McCutcheon. There's going to be side by side to the line, but John might well have this one. It's going to be close.
Oh,
Edwards
got it!
Edwards has got there. Wow, what a finish it was to that race. Race 2 at Interlagos goes to Simon Edwards, who just beats John McCutcheon. Luke Maxwell couldn't quite get involved on that last lap. In the end, it's the 5-time champion who takes it away from John McCutcheon. Let's have another look at it. One of the closest finish you're ever likely to see. Here in the Radical Race Series, Simon Edwards, in the end, wins it by a nose.
Yeah, he gets that outside line. You can see him. Watch Maxwell come at him as well. Maxwell got a massive overspeed, almost made it. And they are literally nose to tail coming over the line as well. It has been incredible. Look at that. Oh.
So close. So close.
That
in the end, Edwards does indeed complete what he needed to today, but with second place, John McCutcheon now cannot be caught. Unless there's a miracle, he will be the Radical Race Series champion for Season 3 in 2023. But he'll be more disappointed about that gap there. Simon Edwards wins by 18 thousandths of a second in Race 2 at Interlagos. Luke Maxwell only getting involved on the very last lap. Robert Woodward held off Mike Bousson away from the cameras for 4th, by the way, with George Gonzaga finishing in 6th. Then it was Wayne Palmer in 7th place ahead of Jamie Bird, Phil Glover and Michael LeMay rounding out the top 10. Darryl Taylor finishes 11th ahead of Phil Jocelyn, who retired, I think, after that incident, or maybe drove a couple more laps. Paul Godden certainly did retire at that point. And Deborah Rosden actually didn't start the last race.
Oh.
Well, what a run to the line that was. And Luke Maxwell is already waiting for us, so we'll bring him in and get his thoughts immediately. Only seconds after the race ends on what he saw in front. Luke, welcome in. Good to have you with us. I will ask you about race 1 a little bit later, of course, but race 2 first, and just what you saw there on the last lap. You were chasing for ages, and eventually you caught up to see what happened in front of you in the end. Just what was that ending to race 2 like?
Yeah, what a great battle to watch between Simon and John for a few laps. I made a small mistake, I think, about 2 laps from the end. Otherwise, I might have been a little bit closer. But yeah, it was fantastic fun. Great racing. I had a bit of a bad start. I think I turned George lap 1 of the second race and kind of held back to make sure he got going again before I put my foot down. But then I was a bit way behind. So I think by the time I passed everyone else, I was about 4.5 seconds back, and it was yeah. I mean, the pace. Simon had really good pace, so obviously I think John was in his toe, and it was very, very hard to try and narrow that gap, and nothing was coming down really until they started fighting. So good fun. I nearly got close at the end, but not quite enough.
No, not quite. And in race 1, you didn't quite have enough to hold on to the win either. On the penultimate lap, you decided not to defend from John McCutcheon, which I thought was so that you would be in the second place going on to the last lap. What was the thinking there behind staying on the outside?
I was thinking that I first place here, then obviously you had John and Simon right behind me, and I thought let's just fit in and see if I can get the toe for the last lap and get it that way, because I wasn't able to break the toe at all, but it backfired, didn't it? just went wrong. I nearly had Simon at the end, but yeah, sadly, 2 P3s I think, wasn't it, in the end?
I think so, although it maybe doesn't quite represent the night that he had overall. How was racing at Interlagos generally? I know people were I can't remember if you were one of those who spoke about Interlagos not being very enjoyable to drive, but it's certainly enjoyable to race on. How was the night overall?
Yeah, the racing was better than the practice, to be fair. It was, not... I was... coming out with all sorts of words for this track throughout the week, to be fair. And then, then obviously tonight it clicked a bit, to be honest, and I managed to get some pace in practice and in qualifying. I thought, well, okay, I found a setup that was fairly quick, but I was really worried about burning through the tyres, especially in the second race. But they held up really well, to be fair. So quite happy overall.
Luke, I will say one thing, just quickly. Sorry, Ewan. If you do watch the broadcast back, I will apologise now. I wasn't too happy about the non-defending from Luke Maxwell in race 1. So, apologies.
Fair enough. We'll listen to that back in a minute. So now, I think John's kind of got the championship wrapped up. I haven't really been in it, this season, to be fair. So, part of that was in my mind that I don't really want to be necessarily interfering too much with their battle. I also said I've kind of found a bit of pace the second half of the season, so hopefully I can carry that into next season and not miss too many rounds, and hopefully be battling myself for the championship. That's the plan. Elbows out next season.
Yes.
We hope so. By the way, it's almost exactly a year to the day where you took your first title in the Radical Race Series. By the way, I'm sure you might be aware, you might not be, but I'll tell you anyway. Yes, about a year ago now. So there we are. It's a bit of a landmark.
That's
hopefully,
it. Yeah. Let's get another one before the next year's out.
hopefully, we can see that second half of the season form carried forward. Is there, of course, we've still got one more week to go. Of course, let's not forget about that. Before we let you go, Lucas, is there anyone who'd like to give a shout out?
Let's give a shout out to Paul Clark. He's living the dream, isn't he, this weekend at the Silverstone Classic, driving his cars. So all the best, Paul. Hope it goes well, mate.
I saw some of those pictures, yeah. It looks like he's having a great time. Luke, congratulations on a couple of podiums tonight. We look forward to seeing you at the finale next week.
Yeah, cheers, guys. See you later.
See you later.
Thanks very much, Luke Maxwell. There, 2 third places, and likely wilting from the abuse that James gave him earlier on, or will be later tonight.
Hold on, and John's going to get it as well, but he just didn't defend.
Okay.
And I do love both of them, and I've met both of them in real life, but yeah, he should have shut the door. Well,
we'll bring in. Should we bring in John now? While we're on the subject, John McCutcheon joining us. Welcome in. Good to have you with us again. We believe, by our calculations, that you have clinched the title tonight, John, and that may not come as too much of a surprise to you. But I want to talk about that second race and that battle with Simon Edwards, and one of the closest finishes that we've seen this season in the Radical Race Series and ever as well. Just what were your thoughts going on to that last lap, going through that final corner? How much of a chance of winning did you think you had at that stage?
No, I got a terrible last corner, and I knew he had a run on me. I felt like put him into the wall, but no, it was cracking. It was just on the line, really hitting me, so I was going to spin him, but I thought, no, I better not.
Oh.
Yeah, it was a brilliant race. It really was a good race. Enjoyed that. On my favourite track.
Good.
Oh, favourite track.
Yeah, favourite. He chased his tune from last week where he was seeing not loving it at all.
Would you agree though? I know we were talking last week or the week before, about Interlagos not being a nice circuit for you to drive, and you weren't liking it or whatever. Would you agree that it does provide great racing though, and that's why we love it as commentators, because of the kind of race that we had tonight?
Yeah, I was just saying that to Phil in the interview room there, and you can't argue with that. It does create a lot of good racing. It's just the track doesn't have much grip, and the infield's tricky, so I had to go with a setup that had a lot of understeer to get through the infield. So it helped me in the end.
I'm glad we've reached some sort of middle ground on Interlagos that we can all agree on. Want to go back to race 1 as well, because of course you were up there and ended up winning that race. Did it surprise you a little bit the way that the penultimate lap ended up going? Of course, Luke wanted the slipstream, as we now know, and wanted to be second going on to the last lap to try and overtake you, but Simon ended up getting involved in towards turn 1. Did any of that surprise you, or did you kind of see that coming?
The couple of hours I've had practice, I haven't managed to get into the 27s at all. So when I got into the 27s in quali, I was surprised to get P2. I thought at least the best I was hoping for was P3, And then I was just thinking to myself, just stick behind him, just stay in the slipstream. So we managed to gap Simon a little, and then I said, just stay behind Luke, and he ran wide. And I don't know how he didn't get back on track, because he should have been in the wall going that far wide, but and it just left enough time for me to get by him, and I managed to pull away on them.
And one last thing as well, John. Any special plans for next week? Because we know now that you can't be caught in the championship. It's almost a victory lap at Mosport next week. Anything to note on that circuit that you particularly like or not? Anything you're going to do differently, or is it going to be a normal race next week?
Maybe try Lashley first. Maybe give that a go. Bottle of beer beside me.
Why not?
A bit of celebration.
Yeah, well, why not? Bit of celebration. I don't know where you're going to drink it on Mosport, to be fair. It's a bit of a...
it's a bit fast and flowing for that one, isn't it, really?
A bit of a roller coaster.
Yeah,
I like Mosport. It's good wee track. Fun to drive that.
John, you could get one of them hats with them beard things on the side of the hat and the straw that just goes in your mouth.
Good idea. I've got one of them for my cycling. That's a good idea. I'll put beer in it instead of water.
Yeah, just put that on. But you've got to send us a picture, John, because otherwise we're not going to believe it. No, it doesn't count if we don't see it on that one either. John, also, I will apologise to you. I do love you, but I do feel that you should have defended a little bit harder going into the last lap. If you watch the broadcast back, just chuckle for yourself, because, I may have said some strong words.
Okay.
James has been giving out some abuse tonight, I'll tell you that.
Don't call me names.
No, I don't know. I just felt you could have defended that last lap entry into turn one a little bit more, and then you might... Anyway, look, just watch it back and then DM me after, all right? And either that or I'm going to get a telling off from Darryl, one of the two.
I need to watch it now.
It was certainly a great end to the race, as we're seeing some replays of on the screen at the moment. It was fantastic. Is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to, John, before we let you go?
Just a shout out to you guys for the commentary as usual.
You might not be saying that back once you've watched it.
No. Just remember, I know where you live, James.
Oh yeah, this is also true. I also know how short you are, John, so I should be all right.
I'm short and feisty.
Yeah.
There's a bit of a travel, by the way, between your locations.
Yeah.
That's another problem. But anyway, we're really waffling now. John, congratulations on race one victory and clinching the title tonight mathematically, or if not just officially. And we'll see you next week for the finale.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Take care, John.
Thanks very much, John McCutcheon there. Mathematically clinching the title and ready for his victory lap next week to be crowned officially, of course. Simon Edwards is now joining us as well. Did all he could today with a first and a second, but unfortunately still not enough to keep it alive. Welcome in, Simon. Good to have you with us. I want to start with race two with you as well, because it was such a fantastic ending after a long time between you and John of just waiting for the battle to happen. It eventually did, and it was a great one in the end. As you came out the final corner, what did you think your chances of winning were, roughly?
Oh, 99% from the distance I was behind him. I changed to standard gears, so the first race I was in short gears. I realised that I wasn't going to be able to get anybody over the line, so I changed to standard gears. It took me half a race to stop hitting people and finding the right gears for the corners. And then, so I was sort of happy that he'd got past me. I was just making him work his tyres to get past me as well. So, because I could see him saving his tyres behind me, so that he had a load of traction at the end there. And I think I did enough to bring him back to equal on terms of tyre heat there, I think.
We were wondering about that, actually, in terms of setup changes, because I wasn't convinced that you'd made one. Clearly, you did, and James is right on this occasion, so well done there.
How do them words taste, you Stuart O'Leary?
I got it wrong slightly. Was there any aerodynamic sort of change that you made in terms of wings? What was the wing angle they were actually going for tonight? Because I thought certainly that it wasn't a typical Simon Edwards setup, in that you weren't the fastest driver on the straight by any means.
No, I mean, I was going for lap time. So I was exactly the same setup as the last race. I just modified the damping and ride height a tiny bit to get through the first 2 corners. So that was 7 wing, which is only 2 off max. So and maximum front downforce on the dive planes. So it was pretty high downforce, really. I think I would have eaten my tyres if I'd gone any lower, and I think that's what was happening to Luke in the first race a bit. I don't know if he added wing at the end there in the second race, or he just kept his tyres in, knowing that we'd come back to him. Yeah, so that was it, really. Barely any change from last week, apart from I put standard gears on in that second race.
Yeah, I think Luke was a bit worried about tyre wear actually, but I don't know if he changed anything. Didn't sound like he did, and he seemed a tiny bit surprised that the tyres held out. So there we go. But in the end, the 3 of you were absolutely locked together all night long. What about next week at Mosport, Simon? What's that track like for you, and what's the setup likely going to be around there? How much wing are you going to go for there? Because there's quite a back straight, but there's a lot of high speed corners as well.
Yeah, I might be able to go down to my usual, which is 1 dive plane off the front and a 6 wing, which might just give me a little edge down the back straight in the toe for the second race, or I might just stick with this. I don't know.
Well, let's see. We've got a week to cross that bridge. Is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to, Simon, before we let you
go? Whoever I punted in the first corner in that second race.
Paul Godden.
Was it? It was Paul Godden, was it?
Yes.
Paul Godden. Yeah, I didn't realise there was a car on the very inside, so I was expecting Jamie to dive for the apex on the inside of me, and then I realised, oh dear, I'm in trouble. And then I wasn't in trouble, I just knocked somebody else into trouble, unfortunately. Yeah.
These things happen in turn 1, don't they? Especially at Interlagos, actually. It's quite a pinch point. You certainly weren't the only one to make a mistake on the opening lap and towards that chicane. So, these things are easily done. And I'm sure that Paul doesn't hold you to it too much or whatever. So there we are. Simon, congratulations on a win and a second place here tonight. And we look forward to seeing you next week.
Yeah, it'll be a nice fun race next week. Another bit of towing, so we should keep the pack together. Yeah.
Yes, let's hope so. Simon Edwards there, first and a second in one night here at Interlagos. Did hit all he could, of course, but couldn't quite keep the title alive tonight. Phil Glover joins us once again as well now for our final interview of the night. So welcome in, Phil. Good to have you with us. And I've got to start with race 2. I know I have done this with all 4 people, but you put in quite a move for the lead of the race at the opening lap of the second race here tonight, in towards the opening chicane. You were leading the race on merit, having started from the outside of the front row. You had a great start to that second race.
Yeah, I had quite a good week this week, and I think I was telling you last week I really don't like this circuit. But I'm almost saying that for every circuit, aren't I? But hey ho. But no, it was once I got kind of into it, I was doing reasonable times, I think. And yeah, I had a few. I was catching a few people normally that I wouldn't catch. I mean, Michael's normally pretty quick. I was hanging on to him a little bit at times, and yeah. So all in all, quite good. And again, recently started from pretty much the front of the grid, didn't I? I initially thought I was on pole. I thought I was in 10th place which would have put me on pole, but obviously it didn't. It must have been a different. Where did I finish?
9th, I think. Was it 9th? Yeah. But it is happening.
Okay, it worked. So yeah, of course. So yeah, I was thinking. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's happening quite a lot to you recently. Do you like starting from the front of these fields, by the way, in race 2, or do you prefer to start from the back and work your way up?
I think if you look at my style, I tend to like to let people go and fall off and then catch people up later. I'm quite a slow the first few laps, I'm pretty timid because I've been caught out so many times. We're just going too quick on the first few laps. So it doesn't suit my style to be at the front, to be honest. But obviously, at some point, I need to alter that. Otherwise, I'm never going to win, am I?
Well, and if you keep driving well in the opening races, then you do generally find yourself further up the field or further in the mix, I should say, in the second race. So it's a nature of this format a little bit. And one final thing on the track itself. I know you mentioned that you're not a fan of driving it. Were you a fan of racing on it though? Because a lot of drivers have enjoyed their battling with others at Interlagos tonight, but not necessarily driving on the circuit in the first place, which has been causing them a few problems in practice.
Yeah, I think that's spot on. I think it's a track for racing on, not for well, some people obviously like it for hot lapping, but it doesn't suit me hot lapping. I find the tight corners quite frustrating. There is a lovely corner though that brings you into that series of twisty ones. I can't remember what it's a right hand, and you could just sort of feather it around it. It's a really nice bend. You probably know the one I mean. But yeah, it's not a favourite of mine. Are we at Most Sport next week?
Yes, we are.
Yeah, no, I like that one. So, yeah, well, that means I probably won't do very well, doesn't it?
See, I mean, I'm looking forward to it. It's certainly a great track. I agree. Is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to, Phil, before we let you
go? I suppose all those people that are kind of just getting into sim racing and giving it a go, and learning. You learn at a rapid rate when you first start, both in terms of all the hardware and stuff that you can spend a fortune on and you don't really need, to just learning all that racecraft. So, if you've just started out, keep going. It's great fun.
Certainly is, and come join the Radical Race Series if you are as well, because it's a great league to be a part of. If you're listening in and you are, even if you're not new to sim racing, come and join as well anyway. Phil, congratulations on a successful evening overall, and we look forward to seeing you at the finale next week.
Yep, look forward to it. Take care, guys.
Take care.
Thanks very much. Phil Glover there chatting to us after the couple of races at Interlagos tonight. Well, mathematically, John McHutchison is our Season 3 champion. It's been likely for quite some time. Simon Edwards, winning the feature race and finishing second in the sprint race, actually did what was required of him tonight to keep it alive, but John McHutchison's finishes himself have provided him with just enough to take the title mathematically tonight. Next week, it's pressure off for almost everybody. There will be championship placings up for grabs, of course, in other ones, but generally it will be a night of having a bit of fun and enjoying Mosport, the first time we've had a different finale on the official iRacing schedule of this championship for quite some time. Hopefully you will join us for that one here on the JPB YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe. There's so much racing going on over the course of the week. There's so much racing going on at Thursdays, by the way, even before we come to air. So make sure you check some of that out. And it's not done yet either. There's racing going on later tonight, and if you want to watch me embarrass myself, then watch the Triple Bypass Racing League, because I'll be racing.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because I was going to otherwise.
Okay, yes, I will be racing my first ever competitive oval race at Daytona.
I do expect an interview later as well, by the way.
Oh, okay, that might be a bit tricky, but I'll try and do it. We'll figure that out later on, because you got a few hours. If you're planning on staying up late tonight in Europe, or if you're American indeed, and it's in the evening, then stick around with us here on the JPB YouTube channel, because it will be a great one. Make sure you subscribe for Radical Race Series action as well, of course. Next week will be Mosport, as I mentioned. The finale will be coming your way. It will be live, same time, same place, as we always are. So we look forward to seeing you then. But for now, from me, Ewan O'Leary, and James Parfitt alongside me, from here at Interlagos at the penultimate round of the Radical Race Series, goodbye for now.